Disney didn't begin with magic. It began with rejection, with bankruptcy, with a man sleeping in his office, wondering if imagination was a curse. Today, that same company shapes childhood across the planet. But the question isn't how Disney became powerful. The question is, what did it have to sacrifice to get there? How does a cartoon mouse become a global empire? How does a dream turn into a machine worth hundreds of billions of dollars? And more importantly, when a company controls the stories we grow up with, does it also control the way we see the world? This is not just the story of Disney. It's the story of belief, of control, of imagination turned into industry. And it begins long before Mickey Mouse ever smiled. Disney, the empire built on imagination. Not a theme park story, not a cartoon story, a human one. Walter Elias. Disney was not born into magic. He was born into pressure, a strict father, financial instability, rural Missouri life that felt too small for a boy with too many ideas. He drew because it gave him control. He imagined because reality felt limiting. And here's something most people don't understand. Disney wasn't obsessed with cartoons. He was obsessed with escape. Escape from poverty, escape from authority, escape from ordinary life. As a teenager, he lied about his age to drive ambulances in World War I. Even then, he covered the vehicles in drawings. He didn't just want to survive the world, he wanted to redesign it. And that mindset, that refusal to accept reality, would both build his empire and almost destroy him. Before Mickey Mouse, there was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Disney had built a growing studio. He had momentum. He had a character gaining popularity. And then, he lost it. A contract loophole, a distributor betrayal. And suddenly, Oswald wasn't his anymore. Imagine building your first breakthrough, only to watch it taken from you. Most founders would have quit. Disney didn't. On a train ride back to California, defeated and nearly bankrupt, he began sketching a new character. A mouse, small, optimistic, unbreakable. Mickey wasn't just a character, he was a psychological statement. You can take everything from me, but you can't take my imagination. And that mindset changed entertainment forever. In 1928, Disney did something radical. He synchronized sound with animation. Steamboat Willie wasn't just a cartoon, it was a technological leap. While competitors copied, Disney innovated. But innovation wasn't cheap. He pushed his team relentlessly, demanded perfection, risked money he didn't have. Here's the part nobody talks about. Disney wasn't easy to work with. He was obsessive, controlling, sometimes cruel in pursuit of vision. But obsession builds empires, and for the first time, the world felt something new. Animation wasn't childish anymore. It was alive. And Disney realized something powerful. If you control emotion, you control memory. And if you control memory, you control culture. Then came the decision everyone said would ruin him. A full-length animated feature film. In the 1930s, critics mocked it. They called it Disney's folly. No one believed audiences would sit through 90 minutes of cartoons. But Disney wasn't building cartoons. He was building immersion. He mortgaged his house, risked bankruptcy again, poured everything into Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. If it failed, the studio would collapse. And when it premiered in 1937, the audience didn't just clap, they cried. For the first time, animation wasn't entertainment. It was emotional storytelling. Disney didn't just win. He redefined what was possible. But success has a shadow, because when imagination becomes profitable, it stops being innocent. And in the next decade, Disney would face something far more dangerous than bankruptcy. He would face control. What happens when a dreamer becomes a CEO? And when magic becomes machinery? Success changes people. Snow White had made Disney untouchable. Money flowed in. The studio expanded. New films followed. Pinocchio, Fantasia, Bambi. But here's the problem with genius. It often demands more than others can give. Inside the studio, pressure was rising. Animators worked long hours. Deadlines tightened. Creative disagreements turned personal. Walt Disney believed he was building art. His employees felt they were building a factory. And in 1941, the illusion cracked. The animators went on strike. Imagine that. The company that built dreams, now surrounded by picket signs. Employees accused Disney of favoritism, of ego, of control. And for the first time, Walt wasn't the underdog anymore. He was the establishment. This wasn't just a labor dispute. It was a psychological turning point. Because once you feel betrayed by your own people, you never quite trust the same way again. Then came World War II. The studio's revenues collapsed internationally. Europe was cut off. Markets vanished. Disney needed survival money, so the company pivoted. They began producing propaganda films for the US government, training videos, military animations, patriotic messaging. Mickey Mouse became morale. Donald Duck became ideology. Here's what most people never consider. Disney learned something powerful during the war. Stories don't just entertain, they influence. They shape perception. They reinforce narratives. They mobilize belief. Animation wasn't just art anymore, it was persuasion. And once you realize your storytelling can influence nations, you don't go back to thinking small. By the early 1950s, Walt Disney felt restless. Movies weren't enough. He wanted immersion, a physical world where families could step inside the story. Investors laughed, banks hesitated. An amusement park run by a movie studio? They thought it was vanity. But Walt didn't see a park. He saw narrative architecture, a controlled environment, clean, optimistic, safe. Unlike the chaotic world outside, he mortgaged again, risked reputation again, bet the company again. And in 1955, Disneyland opened. The first day was chaos. Counterfeit tickets, broken rides, melting asphalt. Reporters called it a disaster. But something else was happening. Families walked down Main Street and felt transported. Disneyland wasn't a park. It was emotional engineering. You entered, you forgot reality, you exited smiling, and subconsciously, you associated that feeling with the brand. That is psychological mastery. By now, Disney understood something few companies ever fully grasp. People don't buy products, they buy belonging. Disney didn't sell films, it sold childhood. It didn't sell tickets, it sold nostalgia in advance. And nostalgia is powerful because it works backward. You remember Disney as part of your identity, which means criticizing Disney feels like criticizing yourself. That's not accidental. That's strategic brand construction. Walt began standardizing everything: employee behavior, park cleanliness, story consistency. This wasn't creativity anymore. It was a system, and systems scale. But systems also remove humanity. Inside the company, Walt became more distant, more controlling, more determined that nothing break the illusion. Because once the illusion breaks, the magic dies. In 1966, Walt Disney died. Lung cancer, the visionary gone. And suddenly, the empire felt fragile. Investors worried, employees doubted, competitors circled. Because the truth was uncomfortable, Disney wasn't just a company, it was Walt's personality. Without him, was there still magic? The next decade would test that question brutally. The films lost edge, the brand drifted, The vision blurred. For the first time since Oswald, Disney felt uncertain. And then came the 1980s. Corporate raiders, hostile takeover threats, executives who saw Disney not as magic, but as undervalued assets. The empire was about to change, not from imagination, but from boardroom warfare. Disney stops being a dreamer's company and becomes something far more powerful, a machine. The 1980s were ruthless. Wall Street didn't care about magic, it cared about margins. Disney stock was underperforming. Corporate raiders circled like sharks. The company that once defined imagination was now labeled inefficient. And then came a shift. Michael Eisner, not an artist, not a dreamer, a strategist. He didn't speak in sketches, he spoke in expansion. Under Eisner, Disney didn't just recover, it accelerated. The Disney Renaissance began. The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King. Box office dominance returned, but something fundamental had changed. Walt built stories from inside. Eisner built leverage from outside. Disney was no longer just protecting magic, it was weaponizing it. The 1990s felt golden, musical numbers, merchandising explosions, theme parks expanding globally. But behind the curtain, a formula emerged. Hero's journey, emotional song, redemption arc, mass distribution. Art became systemized, hits became predictable, predictability became profit. And here's the shift that matters. Disney wasn't just making movies. It was building intellectual property. IP doesn't expire emotionally, it multiplies. A film becomes toys, toys become parks, parks become cruises, cruises become lifelong brand loyalty. Disney had figured out the loop, and once you build a loop, you don't need constant genius, you need acquisition. In the early 2000s, Disney hit creative fatigue, sequels underperformed. Innovation slowed. Meanwhile, a small studio called Pixar was redefining animation. Toy Story, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles. Pixar didn't just animate, it emotionally engineered. Disney faced a choice, compete or buy. In 2006, Disney acquired Pixar for $7.4 billion. But this wasn't just a purchase, it was philosophical surrender. Disney admitted it no longer led creativity, it absorbed it. And something subtle changed again. The empire wasn't growing from imagination anymore. It was growing from acquisition. Then came the real power moves. Marvel, $4 billion. Lucasfilm, $4 billion. Superheroes, The Force, universes with built-in fan bases. Disney didn't need to create new myths, it bought existing ones. And here's the psychological genius. When you own childhood nostalgia across multiple generations, you own recurring revenue. Every reboot is a reopening of emotional memory. Every sequel is a reopening of identity. By the 2000s, Disney controlled princesses, superheroes, Jedi, classic animation, global parks, merchandise pipelines. This wasn't a studio, it was a narrative monopoly. And monopolies don't compete, they absorb. Then came the digital shift. Netflix changed distribution, streaming redefined access. Disney faced extinction again, not financially, but culturally. If platforms controlled attention, studios lost power. So Disney did what it now does best. It built its own platform, Disney Plus. Within months, tens of millions subscribed. Why? Because Disney didn't need to convince you. It already lived in your memory. This was the final transformation. Disney no longer needed theaters. It could enter your home directly, daily, silently, consistently. And when a company controls both story and distribution, it doesn't just influence culture, it becomes infrastructure. But infrastructure carries weight, and weight creates tension. Because the larger an empire grows, the louder the questions become. Are stories still art, or are they assets? Is nostalgia still innocent, or engineered? We confront the uncomfortable truth. What happens when the world's biggest imagination machine becomes too powerful to challenge? By the late 2000s, Disney wasn't just dominant, it was everywhere. Box office charts, Disney. Streaming charts, Disney. Theme parks across continents, Disney. Merchandise in bedrooms from London to Los Angeles, Disney. When one company controls that much storytelling, competition changes. Smaller studios struggle for screens, independent films fight for oxygen, and regulators begin to ask uncomfortable questions. Is this innovation or consolidation? Is this magic or monopoly? The more Disney acquired, the more it reduced unpredictability. And unpredictability is where art breathes. But predictability is where profit thrives. Which one matters more to an empire? Power attracts scrutiny. Disney, once seen as universally wholesome, now found itself in cultural crossfire. Political debates, censorship accusations, creative decisions criticized from every direction. Here's the paradox. When your stories reach everyone believes they own a piece of them. And when ownership feels threatened, emotion follows. Disney tried to remain neutral, but neutrality is fragile when influence is massive. The company that once escaped reality now had to navigate it publicly. And navigating reality is harder than animating it. Inside the machine, another question surfaced. Is the magic still organic or optimized? Franchises dominated, sequels multiplied, risk decreased. Because risk is dangerous when you manage billions. But here's the truth history shows again and again. Empires don't collapse from weakness. They collapse from rigidity. When innovation slows, audiences feel it before analysts do. When stories feel engineered instead of inspired, something subtle shifts. Disney once bet everything on Snow White. Would it take that kind of risk today? Or has scale made courage expensive? Let's zoom out. A boy escaping rural Missouri builds the most influential storytelling company in human history. He transformed animation, redefined theme parks, engineered nostalgia, mastered intellectual property. But Disney didn't just build entertainment, it built shared memory. Ask someone in New York, ask someone in Sydney, ask someone in Toronto. Chances are their childhood includes a Disney moment. That is cultural architecture. Few institutions shape identity at that scale. Yet every empire carries a cost: standardization, control, market dominance. The same systems that protect magic can quietly limit it. So the question isn't whether Disney succeeded. It did. The question is whether imagination can survive inside a machine designed for scale. Every empire begins as a rebellion. Disney began as defiance, a rejection of small thinking, a refusal to accept limits. But empires evolve. They stabilize, they optimize, they protect what they've built. And protection can slowly replace passion. Walt Disney once said he hoped they never lose sight of one thing, that it all started with a mouse. But today, it no longer starts with a mouse. It starts with market analysis, release windows, shareholder calls. Is that evolution or transformation? Perhaps both, because imagination, when scaled globally, must learn discipline. And discipline, when pushed too far, can suffocate imagination. Disney didn't just build stories. It built the lens through which generations see heroism, love, good and evil. And when one company holds that lens, Who decides what the next story looks like? Because the next empire of imagination is already forming. The only question is, will it challenge the magic or inherit it?